Welcome to the Deliverability Deep Dive.
By Mailmodo, and we are your hosts, Jane
And Tom. All right, so today we're diving into email subdomains. Subdomains are kind of like having these separate email addresses for different parts of your business. They protect your reputation and keep everything running smoothly.
Yeah, and you can think of it kind of like different departments in a company. Each of those departments has its own focus and responsibilities.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But before we go too much further, can you break down exactly what an email subdomain is?
Sure. So an email subdomain is simply a prefix that gets added to your main domain name, specifically for email.
So instead of like yourbusiness.com for everything, you might have sales.yourbusiness.com.
Yeah.
For your sales team.
Exactly. Or support.yourbusiness.com for customer service.
Oh, so if I see an email from newsletter.yourbusiness.com, I know right away that it's not like a critical message.
Exactly.
That's pretty handy for managing my inbox.
Yeah.
Especially with all the email we get these days.
That brings us to the why. Why are subdomains so valuable? It all comes down to sender reputation. Every domain has a reputation score with email providers. It's kind of like a credit score. A good score means your emails are more likely to land in the inbox.
That makes sense. So how do subdomains help build a good reputation? Do they each have their own score?
They do have their score. However, your subdomain reputation can impact the main domain's reputation, but this impact will be small compared to the main domain's reputation taking a hit. So, the pros of using subdomains is that you reduce the risks of your main domain's reputation taking a big hit. Another advantage is that it makes reputation recovery easier. So if you do need to fix a problem with the subdomain's reputation, it's a lot less complex than trying to fix the entire domain's score.
Okay, I'm starting to see the benefits here. It's like having separate credit cards for different spending categories.
Yeah, it keeps things organized and limits your risk.
And the third benefit is all about organization. Separating your emails by function, sales, marketing, support, etc., makes it so much easier to manage your communication and analyze the performance of each type of email. So instead of this like one giant inbox mess, I can segment things strategically. But honestly, with all these benefits, it seems like every business should be using subdomains. When would it not be a good idea?
Well, for very small businesses or individuals with limited email volume, it might be overkill.
Okay.
But for most businesses, especially those with dedicated sales, marketing, or support teams, subdomains offer a significant advantage.
I could already see how helpful this would be. Before we jump into like specific scenarios, I'm curious about the technical side. Does setting up these subdomains require a lot of like technical expertise?
It's actually a lot simpler than you might think. Most email marketing platforms and domain registrars make it pretty straightforward to set up subdomains.
That's good to hear. So let's say I'm convinced and ready to dive into the world of subdomains. What are some of the most common use cases? Where they really shine?
Let's jump into those use cases. So one of the most common scenarios is using a subdomain for promotional email.
Oh yeah, like newsletters, sales announcements, special offers, the stuff we all get bombarded with.
Exactly. And because those emails tend to have higher unsubscribe rates and spam complaint rates, using a subdomain like promo.yourbusiness.com can protect your main domain from any negative impact.
Oh, so even if someone isn't exactly thrilled with my latest marketing campaign, it won't affect the deliverability of like crucial emails, like invoices or order confirmations.
Precisely. Another common use case is for outreach and PR efforts. So if you're reaching out to new contacts, journalists, potential partners, you want those emails to make a good first impression.
Right. You don't want a shaky sending reputation to like sabotage those efforts before they even begin.
Exactly. And since those initial outreach emails are often sent to people who haven't explicitly opted in, they carry a slightly higher risk of being marked as spam. So using a dedicated subdomain for this type of communication can help mitigate that risk.
It's like having a separate phone line for cold calls. You don't want those calls to interfere with your main business line.
That's a great way to put it. Now think about those crucial emails that absolutely must get through. Things like order confirmations, shipping notifications, password resets, account updates. Those are often called transactional emails.
Right. Those are the emails you definitely don't want ending up in a spam folder somewhere.
Exactly. Because these emails have high open and engagement rates and are generally expected by the recipient. They contribute positively to your sender reputation. However, if they were sent from the same subdomain as your marketing emails,
which might have a slightly lower reputation, it could affect their deliverability.
So by using a dedicated subdomain for transactional emails, you're making sure those critical messages always get through, and at the same time, protecting that positive reputation. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about best practices for managing your subdomains. So one of the most important things is to choose clear and descriptive names. Something like sales.yourbusiness.com is easy to understand, and it tells people exactly what to expect.
That seems pretty straightforward. Are there any pitfalls to avoid when choosing a subdomain name?
Definitely. You want to avoid using generic or confusing names. For example, if you have a subdomain called info.yourbusiness.com, it's not immediately clear what kind of emails will be coming from that address.
So stick with specific functional names that accurately reflect the purpose of the subdomain.
Exactly. Another crucial aspect is email authentication. It involves setting up email authentication protocols, primarily SPF, DKIM, and DMARC for your subdomains. By setting up these authentication protocols for each of your subdomains, you're demonstrating to email providers that you take security seriously, which can boost your sender reputation and deliverability rates. And finally, when you're launching a new subdomain, remember to warm up the domains gradually.
Okay, back to the car analogy again. We need to let the engine warm up before hitting the gas.
Exactly. Email providers are constantly on the lookout for suspicious activity, and a sudden influx of emails from a brand new sender can trigger their spam filters.
So starting slow and building up gradually is key to establishing a positive sending reputation.
You got it. You want to start by sending a small volume of emails to a highly engaged list, then gradually increase the volume over time as you build trust with the email providers.
This is all great advice. It sounds like there's a real art and science to using subdomains effectively.
There is. But don't let that intimidate you. With a little bit of planning and attention to detail, you can leverage the power of subdomains to significantly improve your email communication.
I'm feeling much more confident about exploring this for my own business. But before I jump in head first, are there any other potential downsides or challenges I should be aware of?
You're right to be thorough. There are a few considerations. One potential challenge is simply the added complexity of managing multiple subdomains. You need to make sure you're staying on top of things, like authentication, domain warm-up, monitoring the reputation of each subdomain. And remember, the world of email is constantly evolving, so stay curious, keep experimenting. And don't be afraid to try new things.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a pleasure unpacking this topic with you. And to our listeners, we hope you've gained some valuable insights to help you elevate your own email strategy. Until next time, happy emailing.